How do hackers hide in a Microsoft 365 environment? Today's video comes to you from a hot night in Bangkok. I'm working here remotely for a few weeks with my wife and son. And I thought, yeah, I'd smash out another video because the last one did really well. Like, it wasn't even supposed to be a public video. It was supposed to be for clients and just for our customer newsletter. And yeah, went viral. So capitalizing on that, let's have a look at a different type of attack. This one usually occurs when a small to medium business signs up to Microsoft 365 and then hands out admin privileges
willy-nilly.
just to make things easier, right? You know, it makes sense. You know, imagine that I'm a small business owner. Everyone in my team is trusted. We all wear many hats. So it's easier for me to give permission to my team members to do admin tasks rather than them having to bother me all the time. And while I'm at it, I'm going to make my primary account an admin as well, because it's much easier to log into the admin portal with my main email account rather than keep logging in and out of a separate global admin account. At least it is until me or one of my fellow mail-enabled global admins falls for a phishing email. And when we are phished and compromised, the attacker logs in and they set up persistent access to the environment. And depending on what type of attacker they either sell the access on the dark web or they keep it for their own use. So the attacker goes undetected for a while because they're looking for opportunities to run their scams or get in the middle of financial transactions. And then once they find a decent opportunity, they run their scam. They change bank details on an incoming or an outgoing invoice. They pose as a supplier from a fake email account with a bill to pay with their own payment details, or they contact your customers with updated payment information to redirect funds into their account instead of yours. In Australia alone, there were 50,000 reports of this type of attack in 2022, cost people $77 million. On average, businesses around the world lose about $5 billion a year to these attacks. Not to mention the cost to fix things up afterwards and restore reputation and customer trust. So at this point in our scenario, a customer complains to our accounts person and they say, "Stop bothering me. I've already paid that invoice into those new account details that you provided the other day." And then our small business realizes we've been breached. We need to sort this out. So we call in a local IT guy. He logs in as the admin user and he notices that the attackers have created and used a separate global admin account to maintain their access to the business. He deletes the account, he resets everyone's password, and he makes sure that phishing-resistant MFA is enabled on everybody's accounts so that this doesn't happen again. But the attacker remains in the environment. See, when they first gained access to the business, they registered an Entra ID app with application permissions. And this essentially gives them the keys to the kingdom. In Microsoft 365, there's two types of permission levels when developers, and in this case hackers, access data. There's application permissions and delegated permissions. And you likely use delegated permissions all the time. For example, when you sign into the Mail app on your phone, you're using delegated permissions. You're giving the app permission to access just your mail, not everybody in the company. But application permissions are different. They give the app access to everyone's data, and they're bad news in the hands of attackers. Using these permissions, attackers can access the mailboxes and send email as any user in the organization. They can create, read, update, or delete anything that the app is allowed to do in the company. And there's a lot of things that the app can be allowed to do. It's not just limited to mail. See, in this one, for example, this is a function that we have that allows us to access email and download email from any user in an organization that has this app installed. You can also use the access token from an app with application permissions to access the Microsoft Graph PowerShell module. And then you can do anything that the app's allowed to do through that. And the really nefarious thing about this is a lot of the time these applications just go under the radar. You don't even know they're there. So even if you've been breached, the attackers just have persistent access because no one thinks to check the applications that are registered in your company. So how do we address this type of attack? Firstly, to stop it from occurring, you want to limit admin privileges or use privileged access management if you have the license for it. Follow the principle of least privilege, which is give someone the lowest level of permissions that are required for them to do their job. And practice zero standing access. Don't give someone permanent admin permissions if they only need to perform admin tasks once in a while. You also want to use separate admin accounts for administration and disable mailbox access on admin accounts. You don't want to mix mailbox access and admin accounts because if an admin account is breached via a phishing email, it's a lot harder for the organization to recover. You should use phishing-resistant MFA methods on your accounts. You can reduce the likelihood of an effective phishing campaign with phishing-resistant MFA methods. This could include FIDO2 keys like YubiKey or device passkeys. You can also use Defender for cloud apps. There's a lot of defenders in Microsoft 365, Defender for Microsoft 365, Defender for Cloud, so on and so forth. But Defender for cloud apps can be used to detect uncommon or high-risk applications. It can monitor for uncommon applications or applications that have unusually high permission to access your company data. We also recommend upgrading your Microsoft 365 security licensing or using a SIM or SIEM, however you want to pronounce it, to monitor for actions that attackers typically perform. This could include unusual sign-in properties, the uncommon addition of credentials to an app, atypical sign-in locations, logins from VPNs, suspicious inbox rules creation, and more. So if you'd like to have a chat about how to defend your business online against these types of attacks and more, give us a call on 1300 369 111 in Australia or email support@gcit.com.au. Thank you.